The air hung heavy in the small house. It was a modest dwelling, perched precariously on the outskirts of Accra, a bustling city that promised much but delivered little to families like theirs. Inside, Kofi, a man weathered by hardship, sat at the head of the table. His daughter, Nia, a young woman on the cusp of adulthood, stared at her plate, a storm brewing in her eyes. Mirembe, Kofi's wife and Nia's stepmother, picked at her food, her face a mask of barely concealed disdain. The silence was broken only by the clatter of cutlery and the distant hum of city life, a constant reminder of the world beyond their doorstep. It was a silence born of unspoken truths and festering resentments, a silence that had become as familiar as their shared meals. Tonight, however, the tension was palpable, a thick fog that threatened to suffocate them all.
You promised things would be different.
Her words hung in the air, each syllable laced with bitterness. Kofi shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his gaze flickering between his wife and his daughter. He opened his mouth to speak, to offer a rebuttal, a justification, but the words caught in his throat. What could he say? Mirembe was right. He had promised her a better life, a life far removed from the shadows that had haunted their past, a life where their secrets would remain buried, their sins absolved by time and a carefully constructed facade of normalcy. But the past had a way of resurfacing, of clawing its way back into the present, demanding to be acknowledged. And tonight, it seemed, the past had come calling once more. Nia watched the exchange between her father and Mirembe with a familiar sense of unease. Their arguments had become a regular occurrence, a discordant symphony that underscored the fragility of their family unit. She loved her father, she truly did, but a part of her couldn't help but resent him. Resent him for the lies, the secrets, the weight of unspoken truths that he carried on his shoulders. She had always known deep down that her father wasn't like other fathers. There was a darkness that clung to him, an air of danger that both frightened and intrigued her. His past was a tangled web of whispers and half-truths, a story she had pieced together from overheard conversations and furtive glances. She knew that he had been involved in something dangerous, something illicit. Nia had tried to convince herself that it didn't matter, that the past was the past, that her father had changed, that he had left his demons behind. But the look in his eyes, the way he always seemed to be looking over his shoulder, told a different story. The past, it seemed, had a way of clinging on, no matter how desperately one tried to outrun it. She longed for a normal life, a life free from the constant fear and uncertainty that permeated their home. A life where her father was simply her father, not a man haunted by his past. But as she watched him now, his face etched with a mixture of guilt and defiance, she knew that such a life would forever remain out of reach. Placeholder for detailed lines. Placeholder for detailed lines.